What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Intro statement, Adam Warlock. Alright, let's do this. Let's have this conversation. There are a couple things we need to go over first, though. The first is that I don't have any Adam Warlock comics, so I apologize that I can't upload any, I guess maybe comic book panels for you guys to look at while you're watching this video. So maybe you can surf the web or something like that. But again, I do apologize for that. I always try to keep something interesting in the background while you guys watch these videos. The other thing is, I know I haven't uploaded a video for the last few days, but my Russian 91% came in. And those of you guys who know anything about vaping know that the Russian 91% is a big deal. I've been waiting months and months and months to try to find one because everywhere is sold out. I finally found one at Vapor Shark, ordered it, it came in, built the coil a few times in order to get used to it, and I'm vaping it right now. And I'm actually vaping unicorn poop from the Vapor Chef, which is amazing. So anyway, let's get into this video. Adam Warlock is a really interesting character in Marvel Comics because Adam Warlock is a guy who doesn't appear very often. He's a lot like Doctor Strange. He doesn't show up all the time, but when he does show up, you know that some really, really big things are going to happen. Adam Warlock is not a mutant, and he is not a human being. He's actually an artificially created person, and he was created by an extremely radical group called the Enclave. These were a crazy group of scientists that wanted to create a dictatorial society on the planet Earth, and they needed someone that could pave the way and eliminate all opposition so that they could achieve their goal. Now, even in 1967, when Adam Warlock is first introduced to us during a couple issues, actually, of the Fantastic Four, you still had a reasonably diverse and powerful Marvel universe. Of course, it's nothing like it is now in 2014, but even in 1967, you still had some variant of the X-Men. You had the Fantastic Four, you had the Avengers, and you even had criminals, Doctor Doom and Red Skull, people like that who were kind of prominent members in the Marvel universe, and the villains had their own goals they wanted to achieve, and of course the heroes wanted to keep something like this from happening. And so there was still a reasonable case for the Enclave to make to say we need someone powerful enough to keep all these people out of the way while we engage in this effort to create a dictatorship on the planet Earth. And so they created Adam Warlock. Now, initially, Adam Warlock didn't have a name. He was simply just referred to as him. And he existed in this kind of cocoon, so to speak. And the cocoon that he uses is designed to, I guess, reinvigorate himself, or simply a place for him to stay until he is needed later on at some point in time, depending on the storyline and the plot that Marvel writes out. Suffice it to say, the Fantastic Four come into conflict with the Enclave and the attempt of the Enclave to create a dictatorship, and of course they successfully thwart the Enclave with the assistance of Adam Warlock, who turns against the Enclave almost as soon as he is released. From there, he takes off to parts of space unknown, and we don't really hear from him again until, I don't know, maybe 1972 or something like that. And at the time, Adam Warlock was being rewritten because there was kind of this shuffling that was going on with regards to the writers over at Marvel Comics. And I think Roy Thomas was the guy who took over for writing Adam Warlock. And he was a huge fan of the Jesus Christ Superstar musical. And so he wanted to rewrite Adam Warlock in a way that Adam Warlock kind of came across as a Christ-like person. Now, this doesn't mean that Adam Warlock was crucified and then he died and then came back to life 3 days later. He's not an exact parallel to Jesus Christ, so much more than he is a character that people usually rally around. He's kind of this great big huge leader, and he's kind of viewed as a deity in the sense that he can die but then he's resurrected, or different things like that. But we're not going to go into the whole religious concept or the religious comparison between Adam Warlock and Jesus Christ. Suffice it to say, there comes a point when we come back into contact with Adam Warlock again. And this is during the Counter-Earth High Evolutionary kind of storyline that's going on. And the High Evolutionary was this guy who was able to manipulate genetics. He is probably the most intelligent person with regards to genetics in the Marvel Universe. And he created this sort of Counter-Earth, I guess is the best way to describe it. It is a variant of the Earth on the other side of the sun. And it's almost exactly like ours, but there's one major difference. The High Evolutionary really kind of specializes, so to speak, in manipulating the genes of animals to give them, I guess, maybe superpowers and human being level in intellect. So imagine this. Imagine that the High Evolutionary basically creates people or creates characters like Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. But the difference is that these characters have superpowers. One of the characters that he creates is a guy named Man-Beast. And Man-Beast was initially not supposed to be as powerful as he is. But the problem was, at the time that the time that his genes were being manipulated by the High Evolutionary, Thor intervened. And Thor intervened because the High Evolutionary had kidnapped Jane Foster for the purpose of having her effectively teach these creatures what they needed to know in order to be intelligent, in order to be able to function outside of the most basic primitive instincts that they had retained since they were still for the most part animals. As Thor and the High Evolutionary are fighting each other, the genes of the Man-Beast continue to evolve, they continue to be manipulated. And the problem is that by the time it's all stopped, by the time he is, taken away from this gene accelerator, I think is what it is, he has evolved to a virtually super powerful character. He has telepathy and telekinesis, and he can create force fields, and he can take over the mind of other people, and he has enhanced senses, and he can manipulate all kinds of physical and exotic energies, and it's really kind of crazy all the powers that he has, but he is a formidable character for anyone to go against. And so the High Evolutionary prematurely wakes up Adam Warlock. And this is very important because Adam Warlock, prior to being woken up prematurely by the High Evolutionary, had your normal run-of-the-mill superpowers. That is to say, enhanced strength, enhanced speed, stamina, durability, so on and so forth. But he also had the ability to manipulate large amounts of the power cosmic. But the problem was, because of the fact that he was woken up prematurely, his ability to manipulate vast amounts of the power cosmic went away. And so now he has a far more reduced ability to manipulate the power cosmic, although he is still a very formidable character to go against. When the High Evolutionary wakes up Adam Warlock, he informs Adam Warlock of the situation, enlists his aid in defeating Man-Beast and restoring order to counter Earth, and also gives Adam Warlock a soul gem, or he gives him the soul gem, one of the 6 infinity gems. Now, this is extremely important in the life of Adam Warlock, and the reason why is because we see a future version of Adam Warlock called the Magus. And this is a possible future version of Adam Warlock where he has gone insane due to his use of the Soul Gem, in addition to some manipulation by the In-Betweener. Now, the character, the Magus, plays some pretty pivotal roles in stories like the Thanos Imperative, and he plays a pretty important role just in the overall viewpoint of Adam Warlock and his perception of his future. Now, what Adam Warlock actually ends up doing with regards to the Magus is he travels into the future and takes the Soul Gem away, I think, or something along those lines, and basically keeps his future self from becoming the Magus. But nonetheless, of course, Adam Warlock is successful in defeating Man-Beast along with the assistance of the High Evolutionary, and he really kind of goes back into hiding again. Now, throughout the different journeys that Adam Warlock gets involved in, he picks up different sidekicks, one of which, of course, is Gamora from the Guardians of the Galaxy storyline. The other one is Pip, and I don't remember if he's like a goblin, but he's a weird-looking kind of creature. But he's also an assistant to Adam Warlock. And the three of them really kind of get into a lot of different adventures. Now, eventually there comes a point in time where we come across the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And at this point in time, Adam Warlock, Pip, and Gamora actually reside within the Soul Gem itself in this kind of perfect utopian sort of world. And it's actually the Silver Surfer that alerts Adam Warlock to what's going on and pleads with Adam Warlock to leave the Soul Gem along with Gamora and Pip in order to help him fight off Thanos, or at the very least try to hold him off long enough to where they can get involved in the effort to defeat Thanos and remove the Infinity Gauntlet from his possession. And that's where we're going to stop the discussion about the Infinity Gauntlet. I know some of you guys are probably wondering, oh, are we going to get into the Infinity Gauntlet? Are we going to finally talk about the Infinity Gauntlet? I promise you guys that discussion is coming, but we got to iron out some stuff. We got to talk about some stuff first. We can't just start going into the Infinity Gauntlet. You got to preheat the oven before you stick in the turkey, as Michelle said from American Pie. You gotta prep the stove. You got to get the ingredients together. You got to get the pot brewing, and then you can start to season, and then we can have a discussion about the Infinity Gauntlet. I love food. I am a huge fan of food. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. By the way, actually, before we do, I have a question for any of you guys. I'm posting in the comments if you know, and no cheating. You can't Google the answer to this, although you probably will. Which of you guys know whether or not Adam Warlock was in Thor 2, the Dark World. If you did, just say like I did. And say where. Say where you saw him. Like, send me a message. That's the best way to do it. Send me a message and let me know, because I'm curious. Because if you guys didn't, we'll have a discussion on that. Anyway, yeah, we're going to bring this video to an end, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.